Once upon a time, two men decided if they were making the cut. Then they made the cut. And now JT and Aaron are talking everything from wrestling to pop culture and beyond, because it's no holds barred.
Will you back down, turn and run, or stand up with the best? When your back's to the wall, what will your answer be? Will you run for the door? Will you run out on me like it's hard?
There's no holds barred. Welcome to No Holds Barred.
We're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to find out what is the greatest WWE title change of all time.
We are. That's the project we're doing.
Do you think we've already found it?
I think there's a chance.
Potentially, yes. I think there's a good
We
potential.
may have already peaked, but we'll find out. We are here every other week doing this project, but we're here every Saturday on No Holds Barred. Different concepts on the other 2 weeks. But here on this very week, we are continuing our project.
When did you peak?
Oh, right before the pandemic.
You think that was it? I think I'm peaking now.
Yeah?
I think so.
I don't want to rethink that.
Maybe.
Anyway, we're simulcast on both video and audio. Audio's on any podcast app. Just search North South Connection. Video right here on this very YouTube channel. Tons of great content coming at you. We have long form podcasts. We also have a lot of short hit videos, different kinds of content, a lot of different hosts that put a lot of time and effort in. And we appreciate all your love, sharing, feedback, and considerations.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we are watching every world title change ever in WWE history.
And we debated if we're going to watch this one or not.
We did. And we decided it's part of the timeline and the canon. And we're going to just factor in, we don't just rank match quality, right? We factor in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And a lot of it happens before and after the match anyway. Like we factor in build, aftermath, different stuff like that, importance. So like a lot of it exists outside this terrible night. But for the sake of completionist, we're going to watch it. We're going to cover it. It was obviously a terrible, one of the worst nights in professional wrestling history.
That's right.
And that is Over the Edge 1999. Undertaker versus champion Steve Austin.
Yeah.
The night Owen Hart passed away, tragically. So, we're going to talk about it. Aaron, what are the categories we're going to rank this in?
We're going to rank this on match quality, significance, the moment, build, and aftermath. So it's going to be interesting to see how much the atmosphere of this show hurts a couple of these categories.
Yes, I would agree. All right, we are paused at 1:53:05 on Peacock, around there. If you're on other auxiliary ways to watch the show,
1:52:50 on the international network, which is garbage. Since they've updated it, so
we're basically frozen. It's a wide shot of the set. China's on the Titantron,
or a white blur.
Yeah, right around there. All right, let's hit play in 3, 2, 1, go. So, I mean, this is like an interesting time period historically. So we're kind of at full staff corporate ministry, but without Vince quite yet, right? Because Vince had turned
the higher power, right?
It's like 2 weeks after this, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks after this. Vince had turned face around Backlash when Taker abducted Stephanie and Austin and Shamrock, and they all worked to save her.
Where to, Stephanie?
Thank you. Yes, that one. So Vince is outside the corporation at this point. Shane has taken over control. The Rock is now out as well. Like he's
Triple
a
H is the main.
Triple H.
Is
Triple H and Undertaker. Triple H and Undertaker are kind of the top dogs.
Howard Finkel is very large.
Yes, he's a big boy in '99. So Taker and Shane really are kind of running the show.
Can you imagine the abuse Finkel probably had to take for his weight?
Oh God, brutal. Especially during this time too, where Vince is at like the top of his game. Like he was probably ruthless. So here comes Patterson. He's saying he's the referee, so this is Vince's choice. I'm sure is how it's supposed to be laid out.
Have you noticed that Pat Patterson has an impeccable eye for style?
Oh yeah.
I think he's very good at it. He's also very nimble.
He is nimble.
And his favorite karaoke song is My Way by Frank Sinatra,
That I knew.
which I saw him sing live in a karaoke bar.
Was as beautiful as I imagine.
It was. So there's this karaoke bar in Montreal. It's called Vocals. And on the wall, it had this beautiful mural that someone painted of like Freddie Mercury, Elvis, all the music stars.
Mhm.
Also on the mural, Pat Patterson.
Well, there you go. The beloved karaokeist.
Yeah. Oh, we get the awesome Undertaker music.
Pat did sing that on Legends House, if you recall, when
Oh, did he?
that was on WWE Network. I think they did one of him singing, because he kind of comes out officially on one of those episodes, doesn't he? Like, it's always known, but I think like on one of those Legends Houses when he finally like tells the story about what it was like, being gay and how it all came out, and how he does things his way, and that's why that's the song he always chooses and whatever. So
He's gay?
so yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it.
Oh, fuck. When did they reveal that on the show?
Legends House, I don't know, one of the episodes. This is an all-time Taker theme.
Yeah.
He's got the fat man with him in full. So
And-
he's back in the evil-looking Paul Bearer. He turned like he had the red hair still for a while, but then when they disappear at the end of '98 and come back in January '99 is when Paul's back to the old school, dyed black hair and mustache.
It's awesome that a person has just died and then they're bringing a literal demon to the ring. Like, we're going to talk about this as this goes on, but like, I think there's a different conversation than the usual. Should they have stopped the show?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you have the character that epitomizes death, winning the world title and the main event of the show.
To me, that's the biggest thing, right? Like,
they could have audibled and just had Austin win. It was what they probably should have done. And because with the way Raw operates, it wouldn't have hurt at all to have Taker win the next night. Like,
well,
just have Taker. Well,
the show, but you get
the week later, whatever.
That would have been even worse if he beats the death guy.
Beats him on the Raw,
yes.
show. You could have him win on. This is producer Tim with the
go on, pal.
Bubbles here. You can see.
We
weighed
video. The pros and cons, and we figured the wrestling would.
But I think it's a little more, to your point, it's a little more defendable to say, okay, well, it was a terrible night. We probably made the wrong choice, but at least we had Austin kind of send the fans home, like, I don't want to say happy, but like whatever. We close the show with Austin beating Undertaker. like I think it would have been better than the way it goes. I mean, everyone just, you can see it in their eyes throughout the show. Like, Scott and I did watch this for Over the Edge on Place to Be. We did the Over the Edge review, Place to Be podcast. We refrained from any like grades, critique. Like, we just kind of recapped what happened. And when you watch it, I mean, it's very obvious how everyone is completely affected by this. Like, they're,
And until I never would have had a heart attack, like in Montreal. And like, what struck me as the worst part of it was that as an audience member, they didn't tell us what the status was. So like, we saw Lawler collapse. We saw them giving life support. We saw him get taken off in a stretcher. And then they didn't mention it again for the rest of the night. And I get the feeling they didn't do that here either.
They definitely didn't. I mean, that's the story, right? That they didn't tell the crowd anything. And the internet wasn't the internet's not easily available. I mean, I don't think cell phones. I mean, maybe some cell phones. Like, I don't. There may be some people in the audience that knew. Maybe someone called them and told them if they had a cell phone. But like, there was no internet. You're not checking your phone to see like the news breaking.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, they would have to stop. I think because everyone would find out like almost immediately. I guess they didn't for King, but because they knew he lived.
King, we were all on our phones the whole time. Like, what's going on? How's it? Like, it destroyed the show.
Right.
Like, I mean, obviously it's not King's fault, but them not updating us destroyed the show. I feel like if they had updated us, even if he had died and said he had died, at least then we'd have an idea of how we want to proceed as an audience. And that's the hardest part is as an audience, like for the rest of the show, you're just on edge for whatever reason.
Well, and even the wrestlers here, like you're like, not only are you thinking about Owen and what's going on, you're probably, I mean, I guess I want to give them a little kudos in a way for like going out there and just wrestling, like, because if that's me, like I'm feeling a little nervous. You know what I mean? Like I played basketball, every week, and one of my buddies got hurt in a recent game. His foot, like his plantar, we don't know if it like popped or tore, like whatever, right? And then I'm like, I don't want to play right now, even after that. Like we kind of stop because it's like you feel unsafe for a few minutes. Like, okay, that could be me, right? At any moment. So, like, if you're these guys, and I know like Owen wasn't a wrestling move, but like you're wrestling out there after someone already passed away in the ring, and
Died.
now you're, I'd be wrestling nervous. Like, is this courage? Like you're almost not comfortable in the ring. I mean, and they're trying, and the crowd's into it because again, they don't know, right? Like from what I remember, weren't there people that thought it was like a stunt, like a dummy,
Right.
um, like a dummy situation where it wasn't even really Owen that they didn't know until they got home. Um, Obviously, on the watching at home knew because they say it that he passed away like during the show.
So I watched. I might have told you this before, but I watched the show in a bar with no sound.
Oh, so you had no clue.
And so what happened was we saw an Owen Hart interview, and then the next thing I saw was like the commentators talking for way too long.
Right.
And then the match didn't happen, and we're like, what the fuck happened? Like so
Yeah.
like we had no clue. Like I mean at all.
Yeah, I watched this on pay-per-view live, so like I got the full experience, and it was not good. It wasn't that long before with the Pillman one. Like Pillman had Bad
Yeah.
Blood '97, and that shook me hard.
And that wasn't even at the show proper.
No, he passed away before, so
Yeah, I'm shocked too how much time they spent in the corner.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you just try and block it out, right? I mean, as a performer, like I don't know, you're more of a performer than me. Like if something like that happened and you have to go out, I guess you just try and block it out and get lost in the work.
It depends what you're doing. Like I once did. So I did a show of Macbeth, and Macbeth is a show about. I was playing Macbeth, and it's a show about regret and bank quote. No, and I did a Macbeth show 5 days after my dad died. Like I just couldn't move the show. And there's a speech at the end where he's talking about like the kind of the futility of life, and it's like you kind of have no choice but to kind of lean into it.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I mean, maybe that's what Undertaker leaned into here, which is fucking morbid as fuck, right? But like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm curious what Austin's thinking at this point. Like, I'm wondering what level of grudge. I mean, obviously he didn't want Owen to die, right?
No.
But I'm curious, like, what's the
guilt? Is there guilt?
I've never forgiving him.
We never reconciled. We never let him know I was okay.
Weren't people angry with what he did the next night where he came out and put a beer in the ring?
Yeah, well, they thought it was kind of hollow. Like he didn't talk, and everyone kind of knew like he never really forgave Owen and kind of held a grudge for that. And so them ending with him, he's the biggest star, so obviously that's why. But like,
maybe it was a compromise. Maybe they wanted him to say something, but he didn't feel like he should because they weren't reconciled.
Yeah, I think that was part of it too. But I would just have him not on the show, like just close with.
But the flip side to that is if he's not on the show, then you think, oh, it's because he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have him there because we all know what happened.
Maybe you just don't close with it. Maybe it just comes out during the show, does the beer. You close with Jarrett or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe it was just too touchy for him. Like, you know, I could imagine a guy in his position, if he's going to start talking about Owen, that feeling of regret is going to destroy him, right?
Right. And it's like one of those things too where the adrenaline of everything, like a lot of them probably didn't really feel it maybe until they get back to the hotel and the realism kicked in, like it's like in the moment you're like they were saying, like the first couple of matches after he fell, they were almost like rushed to the ring as Owen's getting carted out. They didn't even know maybe he had passed away. Like I forget at what point in the show where they say it.
Wasn't one of them Jarrett?
That's the next match. I think it's Jarrett and isn't it is it a mixed tag or whatever? Val.
I don't remember.
Isn't it? It's Val and Is it Val and Nicole Bass against Jarrett and Deborah? I think that's the match. And I think he's getting rushed to the ring as Owen's going by in the stretcher. Yeah.
I mean, it obviously must have hit his friends way harder.
Oh yeah. I mean, match hasn't been bad, so to their credit, like I think Austin and Taker just kind of have a template match, that JR and King are trying.
They have their match that they do, but it's really just a lot of punching and kicking. Like this is like I can totally forgive and get given the circumstances.
I would say it's overperforming a bit, even with the circumstances.
Yeah, Shane's doing a lot of emoting
Yeah.
as the referee.
I'm sure Vince told them, like, listen, you're going to go out there and keep the shit together.
Yeah. But like, why are we doing so this move they're doing right here? Austin's in Undertaker's legs. Is Austin giving the move here, or is Undertaker squeezing him? I don't understand what's actually happening.
See, this is what I would argue. I would argue this match, as we know, goes about 20 something minutes, right? The show is short, but that's because the Owen stuff's all cut out. You make the decision to go on, but that doesn't mean you need to go on with a 25-minute main event. like you could have sped it up and got out of there, and I think everyone would have understood. I think everyone would have understood if you canceled. But I think especially so if they just would have had this be like a hot 8-minute brawl.
Yeah, instead
double
of this
DQ
rolling
and
around submission. Oh, this was an Undertaker. He had just fought Shamrock, right? The month before, and that weird.
Yeah.
Like,
you just don't need to do it here, though. Like,
no.
they could have done a 7 or 8 minute brawl, Shane fuckery, DQ out.
Yeah.
Sorted out on the next Raw.
Yeah.
Shit happened on Raw so much during this time period, you could have just pushed it back a week. Like, it didn't need to happen here. You know, it's not like it's this epic moment or Tutter Rain. Like, maybe you push the higher power back. I think they pushed it back a week or two anyway.
But the other thing too is what, like, does Undertaker even need this title here?
Well, they wanted to
hold for 2 months.
Well, yes, for the story, not for Taker, because they wanted to screw Austin so Vince could be revealed as the higher power. Like, that's the story. I think they could have just done it in a Raw a week later and been the same story. Like, it didn't have to happen here, you know.
No, but even then, you could pivot and have Vince as the higher power because that's how they're going to get Austin.
Yeah, but I just think they could have done it a week later. It didn't matter. Like, Taker could have just won it a week later, and you still get the same story.
Yeah, exactly the same. Now, look, we're talking about this, but it's not like the audience doesn't seem to be unhappy right now or uneasy, which is weird.
I just don't think they knew. Like I said, I think a lot of them
weird. Like,
I know. I think a lot of them just thought it was like a stunt. Like, okay, the dummy fell. I'm sure some realized it because the medics were in the ring, like giving them, CPR, whatever. But then he got stretched it off, and they're probably thinking, okay, well, whatever.
Apparently, there's all kinds of blood in the corner too.
Right. So maybe they're thinking, like, okay, like if he's dead or something real bad happened, they would have canceled the show. So the fact that we're still going maybe means like we're okay,
It's so strange to be brawling so close to the audience also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's just all off to me.
Yeah.
What a weird night. Like, and I know that kind of sounds callous, and like, I'm not trying to make it sound callous, but it's like, how do you, I actually get the argument of like, do we do the show? Do we not? Like, I understand it. I do think they made the wrong choice, but
yeah,
at least I can see both arguments there.
If it was Raw, do you think they cancel it? As opposed to pay-per-view?
I think there's worse ramifications to canceling Raw than to canceling the pay-per-view.
Really?
Yeah, because Raw, your Raw is essentially not put on by them, right? It's put on by the USA Network.
Yeah, but Raw, you could if someone dies on live TV with the ratings they had at this point, I think they could easily switch to a best of comp show and be fine. As someone who did like TV like that, like they could have easily just thrown on a tape and be like, okay, we're gonna air WrestleMania 15. Like you could have thrown whatever on. I think the pay-per-view aspect is what gave them the pause, because I think they started to think like, oh, we're gonna have to refund all these people, we're gonna have to make good to the cable company, we're gonna have to also the people in the arena. I feel like with Raw, it's easier to appease a TV audience because they're not paying for anything. It's just like, okay, whatever,
It's the typical WWF, WWE money over everything else, which is a business, so I get it. But it's the same way they can release 50 guys and then say, well, budget cuts where they're making more money than they ever have, right?
Oh, it's a shit.
At this point, they could totally afford to refund everybody this show.
Oh, 100%. That,
Like,
but I'm just saying, that's why I think that's all it came down. I guess that's my point is getting to. It all came down to that because if it's TV, they don't have to worry about refunding pay-per-view customers. Like,
see,
yeah.
that's the thing with this company is that it's like I get it, but it's like a classy company, the High Road company would have just canceled the fucking show.
Right.
Right? They would have told the audience what's going on, apologized, and offer refunds. And I guarantee you, a lot of people wouldn't even go for that refund.
And I guarantee you there'd definitely be people upset because that's wrestling fans, but it would have been the right call.
It's the right. It doesn't matter. Like, and it's like, think of any, like, if someone died in the middle of a Major League Baseball game, are they going to finish the fucking game? Absolutely.
Well, so what happened the Bills game, right?
Yeah.
This year they stopped it, right? So
And he didn't die.
No, but I mean, it was
Yeah,
a similar situation where
yeah.
he may, like they weren't sure, right?
Sure. But that's what I mean is that, like, they had enough consideration not
Right.
only for the audience but for their own employees.
But would they have stopped the game in 1999?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, I remember
feel like it's
hockey
such a-
games getting stopped over like cardiac arrests and shit like that.
It's such a different time now. Like, I'm not trying to absolve them. I'm with you 100%. It's the wrong decision. They should have stopped the show. But
Even
the
if you
time
take
there
away-
was
like,
so
just-
much less instant judgment though. Like if this happened today, I mean, it's hard to compare because it's a publicly traded company and all that shit, right? Like you have to. But I think with Twitter and social media and the instant reaction and the 24/7 cable news, like they would have gotten murdered. Like they would have gotten crushed, right? And they would have had to. They know they would today. They would cancel 100%.
But just even think about, for me, now that I'm thinking about it more, I think it sucks for the audience. I think it sucks for the pay-per-view, whatever. But I think it really sucks for the employees.
That's the worst part.
Like at your work, if you went into work one day and someone fucking died, you'd be sent home for the rest of the day.
Probably.
No? Like, I mean, I can't imagine this. Like, I've done shows in schools where there was like, we found out about a potential suicide from a kid and the whole school is sent home.
Right.
Right? Like, it's just decency to not force your employees to go out and fucking wrestle after their friend has died in the ring.
Right. Yeah.
Like, they canceled the main events of Apollo Creed versus even Drago. They didn't go on with those main events.
Well, that was the main event.
Oh, shit. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. They should have canceled it. It's like 99 was just still carny enough. You know what I mean? Like they weren't public. It is the old school mentality. The show's going to go on. The money's going to get made. Like that was just the mentality still. It was like it was the old carny wrestling style, for better or worse. And now I think it's the optics of it would be much different.
It just feels like whenever I hear this debate kind of happen, it's always framed as like, well, it was a tough call either way.
No,
like,
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so either. I think on one hand, you're losing money, which I get afford it, versus losing, I don't know. Did part of wrestling die this day?
Right.
And I wonder if them doing the show, continuing on the show, helped with that.
Given the ratings and et cetera that follows, probably not, sadly.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much they made off of the show. I gotta have to look back at the buy rate. The gate's the gate. Like they're probably not gonna refund tickets, is my guess.
Right.
They might not even refund the pay-per-view if they cancel. They may just say, it happened. We're gonna end the show because of it. This kind of stuff happens. Card subject to change. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
$430,000. $430,000.
Maybe they offer free vouchers so the next time they're there, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
430,000 buys.
Part of me thinks even more than the money, they didn't want to screw up their plans.
Wait, that's insane.
Right? It's stupid. But I'm just I'm trying to rationalize what they did. And I'm like, it wouldn't shock me at this time. Oh no, bro, we can't cancel. It's gonna throw off all the stories. Like if we can't push back. We get it all mapped out for the next few weeks. I'm curious, backstage, what that level of conversation was too. Was it? Oh, well,
Maybe.
we have to do this tonight. We have to do it tonight. We can't wait.
But for me, it's like it all falls into that pattern of not giving a fuck about your employees.
Yeah, it's all awful.
Like
Any rationalization of it is awful.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's like, look, like everything is about money, which again, I get because it's a business. But like I ran for 20 years a small theater company, right? That toured. I never once would even imagine asking my cast to pay for their travel.
Right.
Never once imagine making them pay for their lodging. Right? Ever. And I'm not a $1 billion company. You know what I mean? And so this is just another one of those things where it's like, well, they're the ones who wanted to be here, and they're lucky to be here, and they're lucky for the opportunity.
Right.
Anyway, this match is very much nothing.
Yeah, it honestly feels like, again, a lot of it unnecessary in the scope of what they're doing, like throwing Taker through the stained glass window and he's like kind of bleeding. Like, did we need that? You know what I mean? Like, I get they're trying to bring the energy and give the fans a show. Like the whole point, if you're them, you're thinking the whole point that we're even going on is for the fans. So we got to go out there and give them what they want. But like this feels like almost too much. Like throwing them through glass and all this other shit. Like
the show also ends 20 minutes early. So maybe these guys are making up time for time that other guys didn't want to do.
Well, are you going by the timestamp, you mean, or just you knew that in general?
Well, I'm just going by the timestamp. It's 2:20.
Yeah, but you got to factor in all the Owen stuff.
Oh, they cut out all the Owen stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still think it was short. I think it's still like 15, 20 off the time probably, but they've probably sliced off a good 15, 20 because all the time Owen falls and he's in the ring, they're showing that video package. They're talking JR and King at ringside. Like that's minutes.
I just remember thinking, what is happening that they keep talking?
Yeah. Well, then they re-aired like the same video package twice or something, right? It was so weird. The whole thing was weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a long match. That's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
But to your point, the crowd is in it.
Yeah, which is strange. Like I remember being in that Raw with Lawler so clearly because the show really did die after. Like at least in the building. Maybe it sounded like very much just like a worry and concern about what was happening.
Right. They had that worry on TV too because Cole was shook. You know what I mean? Like he was like a mess the whole show.
We basically watched him die, right?
Right. Started snoring.
Yeah, this is not a. I mean, it's not bad. It's just kind of.
It's. I mean, they have a weird energy to it, which is crazy.
Yeah. I feel like this is the kind of match too, where like these spots where like Undertaker standing on his throat and stuff. I don't have a problem with what they're doing, but like if I'm them, I wouldn't want to give the audience a lot of time to think about what's happening. Like to your point, like I would want it high energy and moving the whole time.
Yeah. Which they're trying to do. Yeah. It's just two guys that aren't going to do it at this point. like Taker's not going to have a 20-minute sprint. I mean, this is why it should have been to me 7 or 8 minutes. Like,
yeah,
you know, quick brawl, DQ, and just get the fuck out of there.
And have Austin stun everyone involved.
Right.
Send them home happy. Like, is this the worst the Undertaker's face has ever looked?
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain during the stretch. Like he was fucked up, honestly, since Hell in a Cell. And I think he fought through it. They gave him that break at the end of the year, comes back. Shane's face is pretty funny. So Shane screwed Austin. Austin had Taker beat. Shane did the stopped at 2. There we go. Shane
Austin fights back. Oh God. Yeah. So the ending's like right now, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this crowd is super high. Here comes Vince. Is this Vince or no? It's another ref.
Crazy chair shot with the Undertaker. No, it's another ref.
Oh, it's Briscoe.
Oh. What a difference from Over the Edge the year before. Briscoe and Patterson as the
officials. They're trying to help him now.
I wonder if that was supposed to be more festive with this, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Well, this is when they were doing the Hogan stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Briscoe and Patterson, they were doing like coming out the Real American and all that. Oh, there goes Briscoe.
You know what would have been cool is if they had, I guess they couldn't, but like all things considered, if they wanted to replay that match, you should have Foley involved in some way. Because all the other pieces are the same except for Shane.
Right. Well, Taker's still wiping out Briscoe, so that stayed the same from the year before.
Right.
Did Patterson get taken out at some point? I missed that.
Yeah, he killed him off the start. He just jumped him.
Oh, that's right.
Slammed him.
I know Vince is coming out in a minute here.
I don't remember. I think I've watched this match once.
I saw it that night, and I think I've seen it once since, and now this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Vince looking good. Limping though.
Yeah, because I think they beat him up on, I don't know if it was heat or whatever.
How the fuck is he out here not feeling responsible?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I don't know. He's a psycho, so maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if he felt responsible. I think he really just was like, "Whoa." Like,
Yeah.
I just can't get it through my mind. Like, if you're Owen Hart's family watching this, not that you're
Well, they're
watching
not.
anymore.
Yeah, I'll say they're clearly not.
But like, you turn it back on to see what's going on, and the owner is in there.
Like all this just feels off, you know.
Yeah. They really should have just like called the audible. If they're going to keep doing the show, just make this fast.
Yeah, just do a DQ and then reboot. You know, reset the next week.
Yeah.
And JR's trying.
Yeah.
I guess at some point you probably get lost in it, right? You just kind of forget and try and just not think about the awful thing, right?
Right.
All right. So
But then
Austin
it's
hits
just-
the Thunder. Yeah, good.
Yeah. It's just Vince and Shane now trying to count the other one out and not letting them do the counts.
Right. Yeah, they're just arguing.
Now we're back to Vince and Shane.
I'm curious if this finishes. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, the shove, and then Undertaker
quick
rolls
count.
him up with a fast count. Austin's shoulder's not even down.
Austin screwed again.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't even
Shane running
finish
with the belt.
on like
he
a
had just
good-
gotten the Smoking Skull belt back, right?
Yes, you go through all
The month
that, then you
before.
have that finish. It's for the poor crowd. It's like,
And
again,
now
they
Austin
really should have just
continu-
had Austin wipe everyone out and walk out as champ in this reset.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our categories. It's enough.
Sure. I mean, this match, it's almost not fair. So I'm going to go 5 on match quality.
Yeah, I mean, in ways it overperformed a bit, so that's fine.
That's fine.
Significance.
I'm going 2. And this has nothing to do with anything else, but it's like,
No, yeah.
it's just,
So what's it lead to? It leads to higher power.
that's aftermath. I
Leads to
guess.
the yeah. Significance of this moment. Taker's title. I'm gonna go 1. I don't think it even means.
Yeah.
The
I'm gonna
moment.
I'm going 0. I think we kind of mentioned it off the top, but like based on everything they knew at this point, regardless if you want to argue
Right.
they should have kept the show going, having the living embodiment of death win the world title at the end of the match
Yeah,
for just so we can get to a Vince reveal a few weeks later.
bad idea.
Yeah, and like it wasn't a great moment. I thought it was sloppy at the end. The crowd reaction's not even that.
Yeah, all right, 0 is fine. Build. So the build to this is weird too. Stephanie,
Yeah.
Shane kicking Vince out of the. Oh man, mine autoplayed to Over the Edge '98 in this opening video. So amazing.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah. I mean, the build for me feels fine.
Yeah. 5 feels right.
5. Yeah. It's easy 5.
Aftermath. I'll go 4 because you get the higher power. You get you get Austin as owner taking over Vince's office. Leads to the briefcase at King of the Ring. The first blood and all that at Fully Loaded. End
The
of an
first
era.
blood is not the aftermath.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The title changed as a King of the Ring. Still, so it gives you the
Yeah.
higher power. It gives you Austin as owner with Linda in the
Gives you that
office. and
shitty
all
rock match at King of the Ring.
that. Yeah. I'll go 4 just for the higher power stuff. It
I'll
was a
go.
big deal.
I'll go 3. Just.
All right.
All
All right, so that's a total
Because-
score of 30.
Oh shit!
Which I'm guessing is one of our. It's not our worst actually, but
It's
gonna be one of
tied
our-
and significant.
Yeah, but we have a Mankind Rock from Rumble '99 is a 24. So
Yeah, no, but I'm comparing it to because it's tied with a 30,
okay, yeah,
and the significance is what we normally put on it is also tied.
right,
So is match quality the next one?
yeah, that's fine.
So this would finish 1 spot ahead of our of what we got here. So I'm going to plug it in. So as it stands right now, we've ranked 48 matches,
47.
47 yet, and this is 43rd.
Yep.
So one spot ahead, tied with Hogan Undertaker from Survivor Series 91. But because we had the match quality slightly higher, it sneaks out.
Yep. And then below that is Mankind Rock at the Rumble, Hogan Yoko at WrestleMania 9, and then Pedro and Stan Stasiak. So it's a pretty rough company, which I think would have been expected. I don't think it would have been anticipated to be any different. You can see if you're watching on YouTube on the screen, you can see our top 10.
Yep.
I guess we can read it quickly for those listening
Sure.
on audio only. Our 10th place is Rock versus Mankind from Survivor Series 1998, Deadly Games.
71 points.
Yep.
Our 9th place is Randy Savage defeating Ric Flair WrestleMania 8 with 72 points.
8th place, Mankind defeats The Rock with 72 points on January 4th, 99 Raw.
That's right. 7th place, Steve Austin defeats The Rock at WrestleMania 15 with 73 points.
6th is Andre the Giant defeating Hulk Hogan in the main event, February of 88 with 75.
5 is Hulk Hogan defeating the Iron Sheik, 76, January 23rd, 84 MSG.
Number 4, Ric Flair winning the Royal Rumble in 1992 with 78 points. And then we get our big jump to number 3.
Number 3, Bret Hart defeating The Undertaker from SummerSlam 97, 90 points.
Just above that. And 2nd, Steve Austin defeats Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14, 93 points.
And number 1, Shawn Michaels defeats Bret 7, 94 points. And it's interesting because in the top 10, there's probably an argument to be made that might be one of the worst matches of the top 10.
Yeah, but when you look at it too, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 are all 97 to 99 right now,
Yeah.
year-wise.
Yeah.
Then we get an 88, a 92, 84.
Well, the top
92.
3 are within 9 months of each other.
Yeah, we got 2 and 92, so that's a big year. So yeah, it's interesting.
That's probably
all right. We'll be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with our next one, which is Steve Austin versus The Undertaker again. That'll be for the night after King of the Ring 99. I remember liking that one. I think it's a fun brawl from what I remember.
Yeah, those Raw ones are always a bit fun. They're chaotic, right?
Yeah, and then we're gonna hit a flurry again here in late 99. I mean, 99 obviously is gonna be the most that we've had.
Yeah.
But we got after we got SummerSlam, then we got the next night, then we got SmackDown, Unforgiven. Like we still got like 5 or 6 more 99 to get through. So a lot to cover. We'll be back. So that'll be 2 weeks, but next week we'll be back here on No Holds Barred as well. We'll be mixing things up, I believe. Let me just look real quick where we're at. We're going to have, our Ultimate SummerSlam card. So that'll be a fun one. Check that out. So we'll be going through and building our all-time. We're going to work together to build an all-time SummerSlam card with the usual kind of build a card rules. So we'll be back next week with that.
We will work together.
Yes. It's like
Spirit of cooperation.
War once sang. Like, can't we be friends? All right, that's it. We're out. Dookie's drop. Talk to you next week.
Bye, Jackass.
Subscribe.